Welcome, everyone. So excited to be here and host this conversation, and really got a couple friends together and figured we'd cover a couple areas and just kind of have a chit chat or a fireside chat about a lot of details that I just don't think generally a lot of my peers and like kind of partner alliances and building partnerships with AWS just know. There's just a lot of nuances, and so it applies differently. But I wanted to thank everyone and welcome and introduce a couple folks with me. So I have Andrew and Vinod with us. So I'll let you guys do a quick intro as well.
All right.
Go ahead, Vinod.
All right, I can get things started. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Vinod Nair. I've been with AWS Marketplace 7.5 years now. Of that time, the last three and a half years has been helping our ISVs adopt a product-led growth motion in Marketplace, so that they can drive new logos to their franchises through the AWS customer base. Over to you, Andrew.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Andrew. I'm the CRO here at PeerSpot. I've been working with the marketplace team for the last year and 7 months or so, and just about 6 months ago, we launched as a exclusive partner for first party reviews. So a lot of good learnings. I'm still, put it this way, 6 months into this launch. A neophyte, still learning every second and every day. And in fact, I'm really excited. We did not plan this, but just as about 2 hours ago, I received word that our listing is officially listed in the marketplace. So we are newly listed, fresh off the cart, if you will. So thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of tingly excited about that.
You've reached the starting gate, not the finishing line, but
No,
congratulations. Yeah.
yes, exactly. I know. There's so much still to do, but yes, there was a big hurdle.
Well, amazing. Thank you, guests. And I'm Michael Musselman. I've been doing alliances for a long time and helped co-found a large 450 member peers of Cloud Alliance leaders called PCAN.cloud. So welcome everyone. So we'll just kick it straight off. Actually, um, Vinod, having you like Marketplace has been around. I think it had its 10th birthday. So you've seen more than 70% of the Marketplace. And I
Yes,
think in the early years, there was some it was a
it
whole
was.
different world than it was today. So
Yes,
I even personally remember doing CPPO on paper, right? There was no
yes.
product for that. So, but let's go back in time a little, just like what was the whole like, all narrative around the marketplace and the why
Yeah,
and the vision and I think you bring a lot of context for folks that just haven't, this is new to them, right?
yeah. Thanks, Michael, and feel free to chime in. You've been along in this journey quite a bit as well, so feel free to add what I'm missing. So, Marketplace, as Michael said, started a little over 10 years ago. The vision for Marketplace is to be the Amazon.com for B2B software. So the one place where you can buy everything. We started off kind of, you can essentially for the shadow IT. Uh, Developer can come in, download an AMI and start playing around. And then we switched over, I think, a little somewhere along the line due to customer demand saying, hey, we would like to transact through Marketplace, transact large contracts. And that's where we kind of did a student body left, if you will, to really solving the private offer business. So Michael mentioned the CPPO done on paper, how pretty much everything is now automated. We have, if you have done a listing, Andrew hopefully can attest to this. It used to be a manual process with spreadsheets, and it could take forever. We have expedited that, and you can now, it's all kind of a lot more automated. So we're definitely coming closer and closer to that vision of Amazon.com for B2B. Where I came in is we this shift to marketplace private offers kind of took our eye off the ball a little on where we started, which is product-led growth. And if you think about AWS, we are a PLG company with over 10 billion, with over 10, with over 100 billion in revenue. But we started AWS in 2006, we had one service and it was the S3. You could pay as you go at 15 cents a gigabyte. And this was how the whole AWS service started. Fast forward to about 2010 was when we launched free tier. And this is where I believe we really started taking off because you could get a whole set of services for free for up to a year, and you can still do that. And what this does is you could build applications on AWS for free, try it out. And this is how we started penetrating into the enterprise space. Now, PLG, for those who don't know it, is product-led growth, which relies on a customer, typically a builder persona, somebody who's a DevOps engineer, a networking engineer, for them to try the product for free, and then they like it enough that they're willing to pay for it. And this then can become into a long-term private offer. So what this requires is you need a lot of customers who will try your product for free. Now, this is where, if you take a look at our 2014 report, we had mentioned we have 1 million plus active customers. This was when we had 5 billion roughly in annual revenue. We're now at 108 billion in revenue. So we probably added a few customers along the way. So if you get a sense of how many there are, you can take a look at some of the stats that were published last year. Each year, the I'm forgetting the name of the company that runs these surveys. They had run a survey that essentially looks at developers trying to figure out what are their most popular development platforms. 45% of professional developers in this survey have developed on AWS a significant application over the last year. And if you think about the number of certifications we give, that also gives you a proxy into how many developers there are. We have given over 1.5 million AWS certifications on some of these key areas: security, machine learning, DevOps. So you can look at this as a proxy of the millions of developers that you can access through PLG. I'll take a
Yeah. So I
pause
think
here.
I was going to say this sets the stage for kind of like what this is, what the opportunity, how AWS uses this kind of sales motion themselves. And then, let's say a company like PeerSpot, Andrew just mentioned his good news today, but they as a company would have had to probably a few months ago say, hey, we sell stuff, we're already in business, but we want to open the aperture. Maybe we want to transact this way. So like, what's the process? We don't have to spend a lot of time, but if I'm new to this call and this subject and I want to investigate this for my company, like how do I do that?
Yeah. So if you want to start with product-led growth, so we've kind of developed the opportunity, right? You have millions of developers. We also have a lot of small businesses. This is going to be an area. So now if you want to tap into this marketplace, we have a program called AWS Marketplace Seller Prime. So this does presuppose that you have listed on Marketplace already, and you have what we will call a PLG aligned product. You can dip your toes in the water, if you will. You say, hey, I don't want to take any commitments, but I want to see what product-led growth is. We give you a way you can think of this as our free trial. So you register on our site, and this gives you access to our entire go-to-market kit. You can look at that to say, how do I talk to AWS customers? Your marketing team knows how to talk to your customers, but there are nuances to talking to AWS customers and reaching them. This is where our team comes into play. We give you this access, and you can look at web analytics. Typically, customers, ISVs on Marketplace have complained that they don't have access to who's getting to their product, who's seeing that. We give you access to that as well. So that's on a kind of free trial basis. Now, if you want to enroll and take a goal, the goal is fairly modest. It's about 300 subs a year. You need to have a PLG ready product. This will mean you need a free trial. you need to support a low-cost approach. This can be pay as you go. It can be a monthly subs. Typically, it's like, how do you go to market outside of Marketplace? We want to support that in Marketplace as well. And to support your efforts, we will give you 40K in MDF. This is actually going to get a lot more richer in this year, but we are still going to the finance gurus and getting permissions and approvals. But we expect this 40K to become a lot more richer in 2026. So stay tuned for that. So now once you've activated your marketing motions and you're getting up to 10 subs a month, we also can give you if you're working with a 3PI, and a 3PI is typically somebody who can help you list. I don't know, Andrew, if you used a 3PI to list on Marketplace, but they can help you accelerate that process of listing in Marketplace. Through one of our programs, you can also get credits for listing and reaching up to about 10 subs a month. And this is where AWS will start kicking in our own marketing engine. We will start featuring you in our marketing campaigns so that you can get to that 25 free trials a month goal that you sign up for when you're in. So for those who are interested, that QR code will take you to the enrollment page where you can enroll for the seller plan program.
Yeah, I'll translate this being at a SaaS at two different ISVs, independent software vendors, but both of them that I was at is actually my second time in Vinod's program. But I found, I got to the company, they already had a PLG motion. Maybe my CMO owned it versus my CRO, like different companies organized this, but it was important to the company. And I found that the only path to do this was on our website. And the only way you could pay for it was maybe credit card. And so just explaining this to my company and opening the aperture, then understanding some of the programmatic, the gifts, the visibility, this is where it kind of makes sense is like, well, instead of it just coming the on-ramp through our website, what if the on-ramp was also through the AWS Marketplace? In exchange for doing that, look, we got credits to pay for some of the services we needed to buy, or in this case, to grow our marketing engine or to throw additional marketing dollars to drive that behavior, that on-ramp. The second is even in both paths now, let's say you start through our website, but you get to the point where your free trial ends or the credits that we give you for free ends, and then you need to pay for it. Well, one path is, you can put in your credit card and continue billing as an independent developer working for a company. Or the second path is, I like to call it, you could use your AWS credit card or this marketplace, your account, and now you have you have another way of billing that back to your company. In both companies, I have found that transacting in that marketplace using your AWS account, actually, I saw our conversion rates were anywhere from 20 to 40% higher. And I always think like, why is that? Well, it's pretty obvious. Like if I'm a developer and I have to like run my credit card and do an expense report and get reimbursed for a lot of manual steps in that. Whereas a lot of developers or individual smaller teams have spending thresholds. And so maybe spending $1, $5, $10, $100,000 a month is like well within their budget. And they could just do that. They already have their AWS billing account set up. It's already part of the consolidated billing. And so this is kind of an open idea for if you're an ISV, you're already selling software, maybe you do have a PLG motion. This is just another on-ramp and path that you can start considering for your own company. So
I'll just add one more point to that, which Michael mentioned, which is kind of paying with AWS credit card, if you will. We've seen like Databricks has seen phenomenal growth through this buy with AWS. So essentially, I have a free trial. Now I've come to the decision point, do I want to pay with credit card or do I want to pay with my AWS account? Given that a lot of big, large enterprises have PPAs, this falls into that as well. So I would strongly encourage kind of anyone considering to do that.
Yeah, in product upgrades, there's a lot of creative paths that I think, all of these APIs and facilities exist in the marketplace today, 2026. It didn't exist years ago. So I think there's a lot more to investigate, but baby steps is like, does this make sense for your company? Do you already have this motion, or is this important to your CEO, your CTO, or is this important on ramps? And then you can start to integrate this in. And that's what we do as kind of partner leaders here. So just to transition, like Andrew, I'll ask you a question, but you're new to this, but it's both your product and your company. But what people don't always get right is like your marketplace listing has a lot of nuances. It actually now becomes almost another digital signage or footprint to your business. So like let's talk about what it should say and what's important and how searchability, and then, we'll bookend this, but like what's AI doing to this whole subject as well. So I'll let you kind of like start this question. Like, how do you approach this? How do you talk to your customers about this stuff? What's important, what's not?
Yeah, well,
Maybe
it's
some data.
really yeah, well, it's really interesting. You think about the way that the marketplace and the listings has evolved over just the last couple of years from when I've started seeing the marketplace listings. And Vinod, you can probably talk to it over the course of time. But I look at it like if anybody's ever looked for a new house or sold a house, you want to make sure your house is painted. You want to make sure it has good, what do they call it? Curb appeal, right? The lawn is cut, you have fresh bushes, sometimes fresh flowers. Even when you walk into the house, there's fresh baked cookies in the oven, right, to give it that smell of comfort and home. I think the same way when you're thinking about your marketplace listing, and everything that the marketplace team has done is really to help give your product, give your listing good curb appeal. And so, for instance, why reviews are part of that. So a big piece of that is, well, what do IT buyers want? What do B2B buyers want? Well, according to Foundry and according to Gartner, top is reviews and opinions from their friends, opinions from people that are just like them, that have experienced the product, not just with a trial, but have gone through the onboarding and gone through a renewal process. And so you can see even Gartner on the right-hand side lists customer reviews and ratings as the top. And so that's actually playing really well. I've been in the review space since 2018, and starting out back then, it was just about quantity. We just need a lot of reviews because we need to show that we have more than one or two customers that like us. We need hundreds per se, or thousands, depending on the company and the size of the company. Over time, that's evolved not so much the quantity, it's actually the quality. So, what else do we know about B2B buyers, specifically in the tech space? Well, they're persnickety. They understand that marketing and sales will say one thing, but the customer will actually give a deeper story. So, what do they ask for? They'll ask for references a lot of time. So, what PeerSpot does, and one of the big reasons the marketplace team partnered with us is we actually ask through an AI agent and self interviews, we ask 15 plus questions to really pull out a long narrative. Think of it like a mini case study more than a review. And so if you skip to the next page, it's really interesting what is playing well into the discoverability of products now. And so that plays into this question. And I want to talk a little bit about the thought, and maybe Vinod, you have anything before we go into this? Are you seeing with PLG listings how reviews are a part of the playbook there?
Yes, I'd say that. I don't know if you've heard in reInvent, we launched agent mode in Marketplace. And this has been a game changer, in my opinion, for even for smaller ISVs. You can now ask a question. Like yesterday, I just put in a question, give me all the database products that can handle spiky traffic. It gave me four different options. And one of the things it does is the third vector it gives you is user reviews. Is it positive? Is it negative? And you can dive into kind of what is that review. So now you can essentially apples to apples comparison between a large company's product, a startup's product. You can measure them side by side. And this is where I believe reviews are going to be extremely important because we give a lot of real estate to it. And it's like firsthand customer reviews that help that.
I was going to reorient. Like we started this conversation, Vinod, with the history lesson, and we're talking about Amazon, or as you guys like to call it, .com,
Yeah,
right? And then we're talking about AWS. And so, most of us are consumers too. So I've bought stuff,
Mhm.
lots of stuff on Amazon.com, but you think about the same kind of this is non-sales led. PLGs are typically companies that want to get started, want to play with your technology. They don't want to talk to your sales team. They don't want to talk
exactly.
to other customers. So where are they going to get their insights from? Maybe your product listing, but certainly from other buyers' behaviors and their opinions about the product and what they've done. So this is really that part of the autonomous. And so this may or may not, coincide with your enterprise sales process, but this is certainly another aperture of revenue and how to go to market and all of that stuff. But the parallels you see on Amazon.com, these mirror with AWS, and you're starting to see that kind of why this is important. But we're almost back to the next stage, which is, well, once upon a time, this is only buyer-led and traditional reviews, but now there's this new agent layer that's playing in here. It's like now agents are reading something and they're making suggestions, and then they're actually, we'll get to a point where in a purely agentic world, my agent might buy from Andrew's agent and this marketplace. And so you see this evolution happening, but also, well, now, does that mean the agent is making an opinion about my technology and my, like, how are they doing that? What data are they reading? And so, Andrew, you're right in the, nitty gritty, and Vinod, you're seeing the marketplace side of it. I just think this is a topic that, the seed's already planted. Now, how do we get ahead of this as vendors and sellers and, customers? And, what do we do here? What are you seeing?
It's almost like the marketplace team planned this out, right? So, 6 months ago, we launched as the sole provider of the AWS first-party reviews. And what that means is we're capturing customer feedback from an AWS and your product customer. So it's not just a customer of you, but it's a customer of AWS as well. And there's a big piece of driving more content, higher quality, longer form reviews, because they kind of knew agent mode was coming out and launching, and they knew PLG was coming out and launching, and how important customer feedback and reviews is for that. And so it's really fun. This is an interesting stat. So previous to us launching and driving reviews with AWS customers within the marketplace actually wasn't showing up in LLM and AI search. And so post-launch, it happened probably starting in about October or so. But prior to that, we were seeing PeerSpot reviews show. And so here's two examples. One's with Wiz and one's with Vectra, just to give an example of the sources that LLMs are pulling for answers. And you can see PeerSpot's there, other review sites. You can see Reddit is there, some other owned brand sites. But then starting in October, AWS listing reviews. So those AWS first party, AWS customer reviews now start showing. And so what that tells me is LLMs value the content within the AWS Marketplace. What that also tells me is I don't have the stats for AWS Marketplace traffic, but I can tell you PeerSpot, as of a month ago, we're seeing, and it's growing, 15% of our traffic is coming in directly from LLMs. And so I imagine traffic going to the marketplace from LLMs is growing as well. And I bet you that's helping feed all of the PLG listings that are getting listed there.
Are you finding this from the model side, where the models are scooping this up and starting to build their opinion in their model data? Or are you finding this from kind of the real-time searches, where someone might go out as like, hey, I need a cloud security product. Where should I start? And and then again, it's doing its own like model data, but it's also scraping the web and trusted sources, almost like a search engine. And this is a similar derivative of an SEO conversation, right?
Yeah, it's both actually. It both are pulling it, and so one of the popular terms right now is the no-click search. So people are going and doing no-click search, like they're just doing searches and then getting answers. And then there's the other model form as well.
Nate. Vinod, like maybe from your perspective, parts of on the marketplace side, like how is AWS then using this data, or how are they servicing this backend, or like you mentioned, agent mode? Maybe click a little bit deeper on agent mode and where these things kind of intersect. And then, before we leave this subject, maybe we can talk about some of the best practices about like, okay, well, if this is happening, what do I do with my listing? Right. What needs to be on there? And so you can pivot into that as well.
Yeah, sure. I'll add one data point to kind of the B2B customers who want to kind of try a product. What Trust Radius has done a survey on this, and roughly 80% of B2B buyers in that initial journey do not want to talk to a salesperson. They want to actually get to trying a product. And what is a key factor in trying that product is looking at reviews. So if your product has first party reviews, and this is where Andrew and our partnership with Andrew and team come really strong, because in the past, writing a review and getting reviews on Marketplace from AWS Marketplace buyers was a little challenging. It's like AWS is a good engineering company, but some of our UIs can be a little, shall we say, challenging. So this is where I think that some of the innovations that PeerSpot has done will make that process easy to get a lot more reviews, and which then get fed into the agent mode. So I go into agent mode, like I said yesterday, and I said, give me the top databases, and it went through, it did its thing, and it brought up 4 different databases, and it gave me the reasons why it chose them, and it also then gave me a detailed breakdown saying this particular product had 40 reviews, ease of use, customer service, and kind of ROI. And there's a fourth one which I don't quite remember at this time, but it scraped through these reviews to kind of get a sentiment analysis of saying they were customer service. This customer, it was mixed. For this particular product, it was high. So all that review content that is going in is feeding our agents to kind of give a very high level overview. And then, of course, you can also dive deeper into it and say, what did this particular customer say? You can actually get that level of detail as well. So that gives, at a high level, customer can go in, look at 4 different products, know which product they want to buy, and even we've started a AI private offer. Essentially, it is express private offers where you can go in and the seller has already pre-programmed it to say, if it meets these criteria, just give them a discount on a 1 year product. So that entire process, without talking to a salesperson, you can do PLG. You can also do a traditional B2B sales.
Okay. So let's dig in a little bit about the listing. So again, Andrew, you just listed your product. It got through the review. Like when you guys were approaching, what words do I need to put in there? You uniquely get to use your own service for your own reviews as it pertains to Marketplace. But, you know, what's important there? Like if I'm trying to get the SEOs to pick this up or the agents to pick this up, what are you seeing? Like what's that best practices that you're seeing? And we can probably all contribute to the conversation.
Yeah. So first off, what we're seeing is the LLMs are picking up those first party. So the AWS customer reviews, not a
Yeah.
third party review today. That may change. AI, everything changes within a second, right? It's so exciting. The tools that I'm using today that I wasn't using just 2 weeks ago. So what we tell folks is, the easiest thing to do is when you go to your own listing and you can play with this, you click leave a review. That's the same thing that you could have your customers do. And so we all have our favorite customers, our customers that like us, that we've worked with maybe for a long time. Those might be your low-hanging fruit, just to ask, hey, could you go leave us a review? I, in fact, did it already today, and is a very easy best practice. Now, it's not scalable. It's not where you're going to get tens of reviews or hundreds of reviews, but just to go from 0 to 1 or 0 to 2, that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you're not having you want to make sure your sod is planted in your front lawn when you want to make sure you have good curb appeal. Don't just leave a pile of dirt. And right now, ours is it's empty. We have absolutely 0 review. It says be the first to review this product. We've partnered with PeerSpot to garner customer feedback, etc. So first, I always just say, just ask a couple of your customers to leave a review. That way, you have something. And then over time, once you get 5 reviews, PeerSpot also provides a buyer guide for your listing as well. And so every product listed within the marketplace with 5 or more reviews will have a buyer guide that is updated monthly and it's all based on reviews and buyer feedback. And then the other piece that those reviews will feed into is product comparisons on your page. And like Vinod mentioned, in agent mode. So when the buyer's asking questions, what we've also seen, and this is what I love about the marketplace, things change quickly. Reviews are also being used in the proposal that comes from agent mode. And I think the thinking there is, you want to print this off and take it internally to get the budget. So you want to show your CFO. Your CFO will say, well, have you vetted this? Who have you talked to? And it'll have actual review content and quotes on that proposal for you to show your CFO or whoever leader internally. So that's really exciting as well. But the easiest thing just to start with is get a couple of reviews, build up a little bit of content. And then from there, yes, of course, like we'd love to work with you. We'd love to help drive more and over time and use that review content throughout sales and marketing. Amazon is wonderful because AWS through the MDF program will fund up to 50% of all PeerSpot programs, whether it's driving reviews or driving lead generation, things like that. But those are reasons to have a conversation and think strategically about what you're trying to do within the marketplace over a year or two, and how do reviews and how do the programs that we may offer play into that and help you grow.
Yeah, I'll give people a bunch of best practices too, which is most don't realize, like any other listing or digital billboard, like it should explain your product. You have limitations of words and characters and stuff, but great listings clearly explain the value of the product, maybe some use cases, what it's doing, and you can kind of walk through the product description and product details, but also links out to white papers, links out to videos and demos and stuff like that. You can embed video into your AWS Marketplace listing. Newsflash, behind the scenes, it actually increases your searchability. So just think of it too from AWS wanting to recommend listings to customers, or in that AI mode recommending, it's going to have to feed its data off. What do you do? What benefits do you have? What assets do you point to? What reviews and what are customers saying about your product? And there's a couple things. I found this a couple times is, Andrew, first party listings like native to AWS are the most important. They're really hard. I've tried getting my CSM to, like, it's just really hard to do. But the natural next step was like, I can't really get the Gartner stuff connected because it's the firewalled. So like it is what it is. But like I got my G2 reviews or my PeerSpot reviews, I got those in. And then over time, you guys have actually also been able to be treated as first party reviews. You're the first third party to be able to do that. So then it's like, if I'm building my strategy of where do I focus my time or where do I want my reviews to be, I clearly would want them to be in yours because they're going to get treated at a higher ranking and priority than, let's say, my G2 reviews. But I can't tell where my customers are going to start leaving messages. But the point is when some buyer comes to my website, and by the way, they get marketing messages from us from Demand Gen. Our sales team is talking to prospects and accounts that they meet at reInvent or in an AWS Summit. I promise you, those buyers are going straight to our marketplace listing, looking at our pricing, looking at our reviews, looking at everything and just validating, okay, the sales team says this great stuff and that, they think they understand our problem, but like, what are other customers saying and what are other buyers saying about, their interactions and their experiences? I mean, truth be told, you as a consumer, I mean, you could be on the web, you could be on Reddit, you could be on like all over the place looking for. And so a thing to keep in mind is remember, your buyers are probably doing 80%, 60%, I forget the exact metrics, but they're doing a ton of research on and about you and your technology before they ever engage with you. And now some companies, they don't even want to engage with you. Some teams don't want to talk to you, don't want to talk to sales. They just want to see your docs and play with your product. But there's going to be others that obviously want to engage in the relationship, understand their use cases, your more sophisticated problems. And so you need a little bit of that engagement. But trust me, they're doing a ton of research on you in all of these public places. So it's just very important for you as an ISV or a software vendor to like curate that experience and think about what you're doing into this. And I've seen a lot of customers that just their website and their marketplace listing don't really match. They don't say the same things. They don't have the greatest assets. When you release new features internally, every quarter, I ask our team to just re-review. In fact, over time, it goes from my team kind of owning it up to like marketing. And so we treat it like our website. So when we release new product features and stuff, we think, does our website or does our marketplace listings capture what our business is doing? If we change pricing on
Exactly.
our website, did we change pricing on our marketplace listing? Like treat this like you would your own website. And I think that's a really important tidbit here. Anything else to
Yep.
add?
And yeah, I'd add that one of the things that I see, and this is where Michael is literally speaking what I kind of preach to everyone. It's like, don't treat this as a siloed effort. That marketplace is on the side. I'm not typically I've seen where folks are not successful is the marketing teams don't look at marketplace as a significant on ramp. They will focus on their website and leave the marketplace fallow, and that's where we see a problem. And then they're like, why is this not working? It's because you've not kept that up to date. You've not chased those reviews like Andrew mentioned. It's like you gotta, just like you do with your website, make sure you're putting that same intentional effort on your marketplace listing.
Even on the demand gen
I
side. So my company thinks about driving demand gen into our website. I always say, hey, look at this gift. We got a couple thousands of dollars from
Exactly.
AWS. Why not drive people into our marketplace listing if they want to buy and try that way, into our website if they want to buy and try that way? Maybe they come on one ramp, but then when they get to that decision criteria of how they want to pay, we give them that optionality as where they want to fulfill this. And so, you know, at many companies I've went to, this is like a talking point. They want to do this. The good news is if you as an ISV can sell this way and it's part of your business, that's important to AWS because AWS likes partners that operate, sell, that are culturally similar to them. So that's good for you. But the second is you have to treat it just like you would anything else. And I've watched two companies that I've worked for, it's like $0, then there's some intentionality, then it becomes a million, $2 million ARR line of business, then two becomes four, and Vinod's worked with some of the tops. You mentioned Databricks, I know Mongo and others that like this is a significant portion of their revenue, but
Yes.
it's got to start with, planting the seed. It starts with one,
Right.
then maybe two, then three, but it's intentional. Like this is not the kind of thing where you throw up a listing and you're like, oh, I supported it, nothing happened. It's like being one of the hundreds of thousands of products, let's say in a Walmart. It doesn't mean that like someone's going to automatically find you and magic's going to happen. This has to be intentional into your go-to-market strategy, your sales team strategy, your pipeline generation strategy, and it has to be woven in. But I promise you, this does lower the cost of sales. It does actually help you reaffirm, customer perception and buyer perception of your product. So you should treat it very important.
We see two things right now with PLG and with the advent and growth of LLMs helping buyers. Vinod mentioned 80% of the buyer's journey is done in dark, right? He's done prior to talking to sales and marketing, and sometimes it's actually longer for some folks. Well, that hurts. That's a tough thing for companies and sometimes leaders at companies to allow transparency. One thing is pricing. So, we were like, do we put pricing? I've heard some people don't put their real pricing in their marketplace listing. And we leaned into that and said, no, we're putting our rate card, we're putting our pricing out there because gosh darn, people can probably find it anyway using LLMs at some point, right? There's
Yeah.
probably some proposals and slides of ours out on the interweb. So it's like, we need to be transparent and be honest first and foremost. That's number one. The other piece is the struggle right now for companies is they don't own their message. LLMs are taking the ownership and basically breaking it and saying, you now no longer own what you're saying out in market because we value third-party reviews more than we value the content that you've gated and you've put out in market. And oh, by the way, LLMs don't pull from gated content. So you have to ungate your content. Oh gosh, now I don't own. Now I'm letting you see my content, but you're not giving me your contact information. It's a very tough thing and a very big struggle. And it's happened in a matter of 6 months because of LLMs right now. And so one piece that reviews will do for you is using your customers to drive the right narrative, to own the narrative. So it'll allow you to actually kind of take back control a little bit. Well, how do you do that, Andrew? If I'm just customers saying what they want about my product. Well, through our AI voice review capture, we actually ask custom questions / strategic themes. So we can work with an ISV, we can work with a seller, and product marketing loves this. So that's usually the person that we're talking to. Marketing teams will bring that person, that team in and say, what do you want to say? What do you want your customers to say about your product and about how it's different in the market, so that both human eyeballs can see it, and then also the AI algorithms will pull that in and pull that into the answers. So it's giving a little bit of control back in this time where people are very stressed about the loss of control and the loss of owning their own narrative.
And a good transition is just, kind of the wait and there's more, but we'll have plenty of time to answer some questions. So if anyone's got questions, you throw them in the Q&A, and that was really the goals. Cover some things, maybe highlight some areas that people aren't thinking about today or how to weave this into their business, but also, ask us anything. So Andrew, I know I wanted to talk a little bit more, but like get in a little bit deeper. So I'll let you cover this slide and we'll leave it up.
Yeah, and this is good. So just so that everybody knows, any listing within the marketplace has the option for reviews, and any listing in the marketplace, PeerSpot is the owning of that back end driving of those AWS first party. So if you click on leave a review, that's all of us. We're taking care of all of that experience with your customers. We're verifying that they're an AWS customer. We're verifying that they are a real person and not an AI bot, all that fun stuff. The other piece is then, what do those do? Where do those go? And so we already talked a little bit about, they feed buyer guides on your listing. They feed product comparisons on your listing. They feed agent mode right now. I am imagining there'll be more things that Matt Y announces, because that just, from what I've learned in my time, in my short period of time here, there's always things that are being added. And so the stats show from Gartner, from Foundry, reviews help drive more. They help buyers make better decisions. And I imagine as Marketplace wants to drive more sales, they'll find more ways to use those and leverage those reviews. And then I already mentioned it was 15 plus questions, but that's really important. Most people think of a review, especially in the consumer world, of like, did you like the restaurant? And give me some feedback on it, right? Or did you like this vacuum? Give me some feedback on it. No, we're asking use case, we're asking experience with customer success, we're asking ROI questions. And so you'll see 800, you'll see 1,000, you'll see 1,400 plus word reviews. It's really, really robust and high quality. And then I also mentioned PeerSpot.com. So we also have a site that we are hosting the reviews and that buyers are coming to. And so we'll see buyers come in, and companies will spend 2 to 4 months, so on average, 2.5 months doing research on PeerSpot.com. That's pretty powerful. So we then use that in intent signals. And so sellers can use that and leverage that in their own demand gen offerings.
Yeah, and I'll give 2 more surprises to here that are, not PeerSpot, but actually there's 2 other things. We've been talking a lot about buyers or sellers, but I own partnerships. And so I promise you, your partners are reading your reviews, looking up kind of that stuff before they decide to engage with you, or just, in general. So building your partner organization, the value added resellers and SIs that you're working with, they're also looking at these reviews and the about yous as well. So that's another facet of your business that goes beyond kind of the direct sales. It's the indirect sales, but it is that kind of. And the second is, I can't promise, or I can't tell you exactly where and how it's being used at AWS, but for any partner of AWS, one of the validations we go through are competencies. And so if I'm a security vendor, there's a security competency, and there's vertical industry competencies, and there's a bunch of competencies. Well, one of the things that I have to do as a partner to achieve those competencies is I have to provide case studies. And the truth is, I have to have 2 public case studies and 2 private case studies for my AI or security or, healthcare or financial vertical. And so the other neat piece about this is that if your reviews are that detailed and have that much about me, the use cases, the success outcomes, that stuff, is I can start to use those case studies as proof points to my validation when I submit those as well. So I know that's a topic, Andrew, you and I've talked about. Maybe you can kind of
Mhm.
fill it out a little bit for some of the discussions you guys are having around that.
Yeah, I mean, so this there has been a big struggle that we've heard, a big pain point from sellers is getting their
It's hard.
customers on the record for
Yeah.
competencies. And um, well, yes, that's also why review sites and other places that help get customers on the record exist, right? And so having a third party do that, we are considered agnostic, vendor agnostic. So when we go and capture content, it's to help buyers, right? It's not to help the marketing team or the sales team at said company. It's to help other buyers make better decisions. And I will tell you, humans like to help other humans make better decisions. And so that plays really well into the psyche of just how we operate. And so going back, yeah, we can use customized questions. We capture, if you think of 800 to 1,000 word review. So what that's doing is that's actually turning into a pipeline for that public customer case study for the competency. So it lives out in a public place, PeerSpot and AWS Marketplace. Okay, check. It is a person publicly on the record. Okay, check. And when we capture a review, we ask them, would they like to be a reference and participate in other things? And so 80% of our reviews say yes, they're hand raisers. And so you'll have access to use them and say, hey, I do want to use your public record, your review as a case study for this competency. Would you allow it? Yes. And it helps just smooth the process out so much. One other thing that I didn't think about, and this was from conversations at reInvent, because we were capturing reviews at reInvent, a couple sellers said, oh, you actually ask people if they'd like to be a reference. I'm going to use the reviews that we're capturing and all of the hand raisers, if you will, the yeses, to say, who do we want to do customer stories up on stage with us next year at reInvent? And that was one that came out. I didn't even think about that. So there's all these new ways that we're looking at to use reviews because of sellers in the marketplace.
Oh, that's great. So I wanted to thank everyone and obviously my guests on kind of this. And I think we covered a lot of ground for some folks. I think this might be like a new information and informational for others, that are already doing this or doing this for years. I hope you picked up a couple little tips and tricks that we've learned across the way. But like I said, I wanted to leave us plenty of time for Q&A. If you want, you can go into the chat, ask any question, and we'll kind of stick around for a few minutes and see if anyone has any kind of topical or specific questions they wanted to ask.
Looks like we do have two, if you want to
Okay.
pull that up.
Yeah, let me see. Trent, if you want to ask them.
Yeah. It might be under more if you don't see the Q&A on the bottom.
I did.
I'll hit the first one.
Yeah.
It says, how is PeerSpot and PeerSpot reviews in AWS Marketplace influence Gen AI results? Is it the keyword reviews, or is there anything else that PeerSpot is doing to influence those results? Well, it's as easy as the LLMs are valuing reviews and third-party user content very high. And so because these reviews in the marketplace are validated through PeerSpot, which is for 14 years been in business and highly valued through Google in terms of domain and authority of, oh yes, that's a review site. We trust them. We know that they're not fake reviews, because now that, and then taking that, and now that we are powering in the back end of the AWS first party reviews, that's given, just that authority is given and been able to pull those reviews in.
Yeah, and I can read the other. Are there different types of content weighted more highly in terms of improving search and visibility? Are in-content keywords also important? Is there a list of keywords that improve visibility and listings outside of product descriptive keywords? I can take a stab at that. Maybe Vinod, you have an opinion, or actually I'll pass it to you, Vinod, first, and then I'll tell you my own kind of experiences over the years.
Yeah, and I'd say that we do have a SEO best practices that AWS Marketplace publishes. I would strongly encourage everybody to look at that. But we do, when you list a product, we ask for keywords. So don't make this a kitchen sink, right? Make it intentional. What are the keywords that your users are going to look for? Make sure those are there. Otherwise, when a customer searches for it, they may miss it. But as one of the things that is helping a lot is the AI becomes a lot, they are more comprehensive in their search. They will look at the reviews, they will look at the keyword, they'll make a more comprehensive approach to doing the search. So there is a little bit of kind of grace that comes in with AI right now.
Yeah, having built
And
multiple
one
private, or go ahead. Go ahead, Andrew.
I was just going to say from working with and talking to a lot of SEO teams through the last few years, one easy thing to do is the SEO team will have a huge list of keywords they're trying to rank for, and usually a long list of long tail keywords. So long tail is even more important today in the LLM world because we're not just doing a keyword search, we're doing a question search, and that's what a long tail keyword string is. And so the SEO team will have that. And so what I've heard the SEO team say, and then what we do on the review side, but do on all the content, is align content to those long tail keyword search terms that the team is trying to rank for. So make sure that the content has answers for those is what I'm trying to say. And a lot of it is by industry, by company size, and region. Those are the three big areas because LLMs in Europe, in the DACH market versus the French market versus the UK market are going to be different than North America. And so align all of that with your SEO team.
What I will say from experience is in building listings, there's actually character limitations on the back end of your keyword. So you can't put lots and lots. So if I knew I had like 20 keywords that I wanted, but I can only fit space for 10, my trick is always like, I think of it through my web team, like who runs our website, who's doing SEO at our company, who's doing pipeline and PG or the marketing teams that are doing stuff. I find those people and I'm like, what keywords are we buying, out on the web? What's you see all our web traffic. What are people reading? What are that? So it's like if I have to, it's just kind of like taking the data that you have and then just transferring it to the listing. And then, like I said, we try to keep at least 4 times or twice a year just to make sure our AWS Marketplace listing or listing still makes sense with our product, our pricing, just a quick check. It's just like, let's just treat this like we treat our website and make sure it's got the right keywords on the back end. But obviously the words that it physically publicly says is the assets that it points to. If we made significant product changes and it points to a demo that, those screens don't exist anymore, like that just shows bad on your company too. So just treat it like a first party web page, treat it like that. It doesn't have to be updated as frequently, but if you can do that, or in the same, if I can get my web team in their check down of we did this, now, what does it affect downstream?
Yeah.
If marketplace is one of the things, oh, that's right, then they in their own check down list know when we make web changes, we have to adjust the marketplace listings as well. It's not hard for me to give them access, for me to teach them, hey, here's our listing backend, here's the product description, here's the keywords on these are very simple pages. Whether they send that to me and my team or whether they just do it themselves, this is pretty easy. But the point is just think about it like that. Find the people in your own company that do this. But I have found, like any other SEO best practices, that stuff's going to apply here as well. The difference is you're going to have reviews that are maybe, you might link your website to your review pages and you might have reviews embedded into your website and case studies. The same thing you're doing to make your website rank high with AI or search engines, you're going to want to treat AWS's marketplace listing the same way. We've got another question. So how often do you recommend updating the listings and directories in the marketplaces? I kind of answered that. I've always, I'm either doing it myself or putting my own reminders. I've always just said, like, it's usually starts with my partner alliances team that kind of owns this stuff. And eventually I'm trying to get the bigger part of the business to do it, usually somewhere around my CMO or in the marketing team. But it's not hard to find people in your own company and find out who owns our website, who owns SEO, who's driving keywords, what are we buying, keywords, but I always shoot for like, hey, this is something quarterly, whether it's just a calendar reminder for me to just say like, hey, did anything really change? Did we release a new product? Did we update our pricing? And then, just at least a cadence that we at least know that there's not going to be too wide of a gap between what we're selling and what we talk about our product, and then obviously what our marketplace listings trail. Any other thoughts, or Andrew, have you seen anything, or Vinod, have you seen best practices? You worked with some of the biggest, ISVs in the market, right?
I think when you have what you said is kind of music to my ears, having somebody who does this on an irregular basis, because we see some products that are years out of
Yeah,
date, and it's like, why? You're
yeah.
you're you're basically giving yourself a bad name. So I think, yeah, that's what I would strongly recommend following Michael's playbook here.
And you might have a couple listings. So we have both like an enterprise private offer path, and we also have a PLG path. And so it's pretty typical to have two listings. I know AWS is going to make improvements and strides that I can do mechanically both things with one listing. But, if you think about it, if you go to our website, you don't see our, scaled enterprise pricing or economies. You're seeing the PLG pricing. And so that's the most important pricing on our marketplace listing. If you went to our website and you see pricing, you're going to see the exact mirror on our AWS Marketplace listing. And that's the path to where customers start. It's pay as you go. So those are the prices that we like to. Actually, the enterprise pricing and like our software, like that's kind of irrelevant. People don't buy that way. So really our PLG listing, that's the one that I really think about. Those are the kind of companies that aren't really engaged with us. So that listing is really important to me to describe kind of the working backwards problem. What are the use cases and the what's
Yep.
people doing and like what's the pricing? And because they're making a decision without us being involved. And so I want that to be as easy. And then the other thing, PLG is a real intention. So if you don't already have that, usually it's someone in your engineering team, your marketing team. There's special roles sometimes that exist in the company and the product. Find those people as well, because the wiring for your PLG and the wiring for your demand generation, and I recently said this because Vinod, we're in your program. It's like, I got a bucket of like $20,000 of MDF. Like, I need help spending this. And it's not hard for my CMO to be like, yeah, I'll help you spend it over here. What do I need to do? What do we need to do to get this money? And I said, basically, just do what you're doing, but I'm going to enhance your budget. But, the pathway is the call to action is I want us to make sure that customers know and can buy us and get started on the AWS Marketplace. So I'm not really changing your sales process, your pipeline messaging, almost nothing. I'm just trying to make sure that the call to action is get started here on Marketplace.
Yeah.
And so CMOs love that,
Yeah.
right? Like they're already constrained for resources and budget. So this is an easy way to like get them thinking, well, that's great. How do I get more? What else could we be doing? And you just get you become more of a strategic resource in your company the more you're interacting with more of these business leaders. So I think so. There's another question around kind of we don't have the same backend analytics for the marketplace that we do for other websites. Is there a workaround, best practices, tracking performance? I won't say it's perfect,
So
Vinod. You actually have an answer for this, so I'll let you because I've
yeah.
seen this data and I didn't see it before, and I was pretty impressed, and my marketing team was like super excited.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things that we wanted to crack when we started doing product-led growth support in Marketplace. So what I earlier mentioned, you can just register for the program, and essentially that'll give you access to these dashboards. That'll tell you, you'll have to use AWS way of tracking. We have our own UTM codes. They're called TRKs. Make sure you assign a TRK for every activity that you are doing so that you can then look at it and say, okay, this particular activity drove X number of visitors. These then became subscribers. So you can see the efficiency of your marketing activities as well. So this is
Yes.
something you can get today.
So I was going to say for all the alliances, once you're in that program, in your APN or now in the AWS column, in your analytics dashboards, you'll start to see these marketplace metrics that you couldn't see before. And so that's visually for us where you'd see that. Again, I gave that access to my marketplace team. We started putting these tracking links in. So the message was, hey, to get this MDF, we need this call to action. Here's kind of the UTM equivalent tracker that we can use to see so that we can track it kind of on our own side, right? Because we see all those tags, but on the flip side too, we can see kind of the effectiveness of where they're hitting, how the conversions are happening. But all that gets exposed by joining the Vinod's program, the PLG side of it. Cellepron. Yeah, correct. Well, awesome. I think we're right at time. So that was perfect. We got some information, dialogue, and a bunch of questions, which I greatly appreciate. So Andrew, Vinod, thank you very much. PeerSpot, thank you for hosting this, and Trent for putting this together. And I hope you guys got some questions, and reach out to us on LinkedIn, websites, whatever. We're happy to answer more questions in the follow-up.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you, team. Bye.